It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight reviews of The Great Society, Bella Bella, For Colored Girls, Tina, A Bright Room Called Day, and Greater Clements. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. And here we are with less than 30 minutes and 6 plays to review.
6 plays to review, so we have to get started.
Are you ready?
I am ready. Get set and go. First up, Great Society at Lincoln Center. Mm-hmm. It's the second part of the duplicate. Is that what a two-play series is called? A duplicate? I'm making a joke. Never mind. By Robert Schenkman about Lyndon Johnson. Number 1 was All the Way. It starred Bryan Cranston. It won a Tony for the play. It won a Tony for him. It might have won a Pulitzer. I'm not sure. Anyway, all of that being said, I wish Robert Schenkman would find a new topic. Because this one, I got the feeling it was like a lot of little bits that he cut out of the first play and then some other information. It was like a giant timeline on the screen. It was not particularly dramatic. Poor Brian Cox, who's so great in HBO's Succession, who's been great in everything we've ever seen him in, is kind of blah and not so anything here. And if anybody could play Lyndon Johnson, who was bigger than life, it would be someone like Brian Cox.
Was Lyndon Johnson bigger than life?
Oh,
certainly
God.
In All the Way he was.
Oh, God. No, he really was.
What it was, All the Way was his rise. And The Great Society is his downfall, basically. You know, all the way says, oh, maybe we should look at Johnson in a better light than we have been. And Great Society says, yeah, maybe not.
Well, maybe, but yeah, that was not his rise, because his rise, it was his fighting. It was the specific topics that were being fought for. Mm-hmm. He fought for civil rights. He did. And Lyndon Johnson has gotten a bum rap in general. He was a much better president than we had. He gave us Medicare. He gave us what did I just say? Civil rights. All of the things that other people tried to do.
And he gave us Vietnam. And as we see in this play,
he did not give us Vietnam. He inherited Vietnam.
He inherited Vietnam, but he also
listened to all the people around him. That's what this play talks about.
Yes,
it talks about his listening to.
But it was his downfall.
I know it was his downfall, but he didn't start it. He inherited it, and he kept it going, much the way that
he escalated it. Much
the way that Trump has been doing with the little wars all over the world now that we're involved in. Now he's trying to pull us out. Well, good luck. I hope it works. Anyway, so can we talk about this play? There were several difficulties here. Among them, the fact that many characters played not just 3 characters, but 4 characters and even 5 characters. There were very few people who were just one character at a time. Mm-hmm. David Garrison, for example, David Garrison played Nixon, George Wallace, and Sheriff Jim Clark. Right. And, you sort of have to know what hat they're wearing or what accent or how they're slouching to know who they are.
Most of them, they're decent. He's a decent actor. I think he can make the
distinction.
Oh,
no, I'm not saying he couldn't. But those were 3 very recognizable characters. When you start getting down to different lawyers and different people, and they all look and sound the same, it does get very, very confusing. Ty Jones, who was supposed to have been in the play, was not. His understudy did amicably, or not amicably, what's the right word? Anyway, he did adequately. That's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. But overall, this was as unexciting and unimpressive. By the way, Act 1 was basically a recap of All the Way.
So you show Johnson is still trying to accomplish what he was trying to accomplish, and he's wheeling, he's dealing. Look, it's the same Johnson, but as you say, the spark is missing. The enjoyment, the excitement that we had watching him in action.
In the playwriting and in the direction, both. It's a combination, and the director was, I think it's Rausch, but
that was Bill Rausch, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway.
And don't forget, we have Richard Thomas as Hubert Humphrey.
Yes, as Hubert Humphrey, who is a cipher anyway, so poor Richard Thomas is standing there, invisible through the whole play. It's like Mr. Cellophane. I just wanted to show you, this is a list of the characters on both sides who are doubled, tripled, and quadrupled. So, all in all, do I have any time left to say anything?
Quickly.
No, I think I'll just say...
How many playbills?
I would give it... 3.5 for the excellent people in it.
I will give it 3 playbills, and I will say, by all means, All the Way should be in any repertoire. Mm-hmm. This, unfortunately, just it aspires to, but it doesn't quite make it.
Good way to put it.
Moving on to another politician who was coming to prominence just as Johnson was kind of encountering his downfall, and that is Bella Abzug. And we have her here in this one-man/one-woman show, written and performed
One person. You can put it all together.
by Harvey Fierstein. Harvey enters the stage, and the first thing he says is, "Where the hell is Bella?" You know what? I was asking the same question, because Harvey, who did, one of our premier drag queens, who did so well as Edna in
Hairspray.
Hairspray, thank you, comes out looking like Harvey, talking like Harvey. So where's Bella? I mean, he's supposed to be Bella. He's got one of Bella's hats. He puts it on just briefly, but he explains he's in the Bella is in the bathroom in her slip because she just can't face her people. It's the night of her senatorial primary, which we know she's going to lose by less than 1% to Daniel Moynihan. And while she's in the bathroom, she decides to chat with us. And it's an interesting conversation. She tells us how she got into politics, why she studied law, her foray into civil rights. Interestingly, why she wore the hats. And she wore the hats and gloves so that people would not mistake her for a secretary. Things were very different back then. And of course, the hats became her trademark.
Things were so different that, if you remember when we went to see Gloria, Bella Abzug gave me the right to have a credit card of my own.
Yeah.
She passed the law that said that, so no matter what else ever happened, and she and my mother worked on some projects and we're not always on the same side. Whatever else happened, I will bless that woman for, of course.
And she liked Richard Nixon about as much as Leslie likes Donald Trump.
That's true too.
And that, that's in there briefly, but basically it's her life story and it's interesting. But I have to say, I wanted Bella and I got Harvey, and to me that was a problem.
Are you sure you wanted Bella or you just wanted Harvey to put on the dress? Because I thought about it for 5 minutes, and then I went, no, I think this is brilliant. And I mean, I thought at the very end he would probably put it on, and he didn't even do it then. So I thought that was a brilliant touch. It was not a drag show. It was not about that. It was about Bella. And I think that's what Harvey did. He took Harvey out of the equation and made it about Bella.
You see, to me,
it was the opposite.
It was the opposite.
Yeah.
He made it about Harvey because he looked like Harvey, he talked like Harvey, and again, when he's a skilled enough actor and performer, like when he did Edna, you believe that was Edna. When I saw John Travolta do it in the movie, it was, oh, that's John Travolta in a dress. So he's a skilled enough performer to pull it off, and I kind of feel that I don't know if cheated is the right word. But I think it would have added a better element.
I think you were looking for a different play than the one you saw.
No, I was looking for a different
character.
No, I was looking for a different direction, and I was looking for better window dressing. I guess you could say, looking for different costuming than I saw. But I did like the play. It was interesting. It doesn't quite have the pizzazz that Gloria did.
Well, Gloria was a full-out, with a whole cast. This was a one-person show. It couldn't have the same pizzazz.
No, it could. It could. Bella was an interesting enough personality, and she was a personality.
And she was.
She was a New Yorker.
Yes. Well, that's okay. Several things. I'm going to, when we do photos, I'm going to try to find a picture of the real Bella.
Okay.
Because there's certainly a resemblance.
Oh yes.
So I didn't miss not having Bella in a dress. I felt that Harvey personified the spirit of Bella so well that I didn't need him to put on a dress to do it.
Okay.
It's like when John Cale does female characters, when he did the thing about his father killing his mother. He never changed costume. He changed tone of voice and whatnot.
Different situation. And Harvey did not change his tone of voice. Harvey talked like Harvey. And he was. And
there are
he was
people who would say that Bella talked like Harvey. Go listen to Bella on tape.
I did.
She sounds like Harvey, or vice versa.
Harvey sounds more like Harvey than Bella.
Well,
but
anyway.
But you liked the content.
I thought it was wonderful. Again, I have such an affection for the character, and he certainly did her proud. He didn't harm her or tarnish her legend in any way. If anything, he polished it beautifully. So I was very happy about it.
All right, and your conclusion, because we have to move on.
I would give it 4. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was
would
well
say
put
3
together.
3/4.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 3 and a quarter.
There it is in color. I'll just hold it up for
Okay.
1 second. Okay.
All
righty.
All right, for colored girls.
Speaking of color, for colored girls, boy, that's a segue, right? This is first of all, Enta Saki-change, who wrote this play, died earlier this year. While knowing that this production was going to come on and never got to
See it.
to see it, which is really sad because it is a brilliant recreation. Tyler Perry made a big mistake and made a movie of this with major stars playing. Now, the story is, it's choreo poems put together as one story of all the woes of colored girls who are also ladies wearing colored dresses.
The full title is For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough.
And there are 7 ladies, and they are in different colors, and they're only identified by the color that they wear. And all of these poems, I have them in a book, so they don't follow a particular scheme, are assigned to the different ladies so that each one tells a story. And they are choreo poems, which means they are danced as well. And that was what was missing in the movie. In the movie, they just sat there and did theirs and spoke and did things. They are meant to be danced and to have music. And it is something that starts out about the horrors and the bad things that happen to black women, but there's also a joy and a camaraderie and a sisterhood that happens on the stage. And it is so brilliantly put together in this production. I'm going to read the names of the various ladies, but I must say that it's directed by Leah Gardner and choreographed to a fare thee well by Camille Brown, who is an up-and-coming choreographer. We're going to hear a lot more about her. Okay, the lady in red is Jamie Lawson. The lady in purple is Alexandria Wales. The lady in green, Okwi Okapozwasili. Good luck with that one. Lady in yellow, Adrienne Moore. Lady in blue, Sasha Allen. And the lady in brown, whom I left out and didn't mean to, Chala Chevalier. And lady in orange, Danae Esperanza. I can't pick out one over another because
it's an ensemble.
They each have They have
their moments,
but it is an ensemble.
And all do well. But I don't think anyone really stood out, at least not for me.
The lady in red kind of stood out, you know. But again, it's about what it's about. But here's the interesting thing: a couple of these poems have also been set to music, so they got sung a little bit. That's a lovely touch. I mean, a choreo poem doesn't only have to dance; it can sing, and it doesn't feel dated. Times have changed, and yet times have not changed. Please, and. It's just, again, there's another show that we're going to talk about in the next evening, and it's by Stephen Adly Guirgis, and it's these ladies, and we'll talk about. I'll refer back to it again.
What is that show called?
That show is called Halfway Bitches Go Straight to Heaven. Not only didn't it feel dated, I don't remember when the first ladies, when I first saw it. I got the message. I don't remember when I first saw it whether they interacted at all. But like Jem, there were moments where they looked at each other here, and once in a while they touched each other here, and it made it seem so much about them together. Charlie wants to know what I want to give this. I want to give this 12. But since I can only give it 5, I will give it 5.
Well, I'm not going to quite I'm going to give it 3.5, but I did enjoy it. I was not as enamored by it as you, but I had seen it once before, and I did not enjoy it at all. This is much better. Here you have it in the place that it originated. You have it at the Public Theater. And good to have it back where it belongs.
Oh, excellent. Nice way to say it.
Speaking of a colored girl whose rainbow was more than enough.
Oh, my.
We are going to talk about Tina Turner.
I hope you don't get into trouble for using that phrase.
Check the context. Here
I got the context.
This is Tina, the Tina Turner musical. And except for a very talented young girl by the name of Sky Dakota Turner, who plays young Tina, then known as young Anna May, we have only one Tina bucking the trend. We had 3 Chers, we had, 3 Donnas. We only have Adrienne Warren as Tina.
And 3 wigs.
Only?
No, really, she stays with the last one. That's her trademark.
And that's more than enough Tinas. I mean, she is excellent in the role. This is the story of Tina Turner. So we see her growing up. We see how Ike Turner takes this young, talented singer under his wing and then shoves her under his boot.
Wow.
And how she reacts, and she stays with him way longer than she should have. And you have to scratch your head because when they divorced, she didn't get anything from it, and she wanted it that way. She didn't even have the rights to perform her old material, so she couldn't sing Proud Mary anymore. So here she is in these third-rate nightclubs, 40 years old, trying to rebuild her career, and what do you know? She does. And came back stronger and more amazing than ever. And by the way, if you see this show and you happen to notice the Proud Mary number in the first act and you feel a little cheated, Wait until the second act. You'll get what you want.
Evidently, he felt a little cheated.
I did. All in all, these are good performances, good show. Nothing special, honestly. It's, I think, about an average as far as the jukebox musicals are concerned.
Well, the first act is the story, and the second act seems to be basically a rock and roll show.
No, there's plenty of story in the second act. Her comeback.
Yeah, but it becomes, it's half, at least half the show, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I was very happy with that because these biopics do get, or biomusicals or whatever.
Can get bogged down.
They can, and we've seen so many of them, and it's not the first one we've even seen this year, and so I was glad that they took a slightly different tack with it. I mean, they did give us background, but they also gave us foreground. And by the way, she is still very much with us. She is still very much married to the man she meets in this musical. They've been married for over 25 years, and
she's living happily ever after.
in Switzerland. Yes, you know, he's German, and they live in Switzerland. Not the story you would have thought of
we
for little Tina Turner.
I guess not.
Or little
and
Anna
we also
May.
had a theatrical moment when one of the performers, Morris Rucker, who was supposed to play Mo, injured her ankle on stage. They had to stop the show, and I'm happy to say the medics got them right off. Replaced by the swing and dance captain. Lendra Ellis-Gaston, who did beautifully in the role. And ironically, I had just been watching 42nd Street that night.
Right.
Well, what do you know? It does happen in real life.
Our friend Myra Lucretia Taylor was also in as her grandmother, which is a lovely role. And we went out after the show, and I said, "What happened?" Because I think I must have missed what actually happened. I was watching, and then she was on the floor.
It happened very quickly. All of a sudden, she's,
And it seems that somebody left part of the trapdoor open, and she put her foot in there.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, no. So it could have been really bad. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. Yes. And I was horrified.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't expect to see this every night.
No, this was, yes. And they closed the curtains.
We're not
and
doing Spider-Man here.
And they asked for our patience, and they got it.
And they got it,
right.
And we were rewarded for it.
And she was very good. She was quite lovely.
Yes. And I will give this 3.5, possibly.
Yeah, see,
and 4 if you're a Tina Turner, if you're a hardcore Tina Turner fan.
Yeah, I brought the same person I brought to the Temptations. I saw her enjoy this show equally as much. But for me, this was. It's funny you said 3.5. We don't usually give a grade that low to a musical. We usually we're musical people. Yeah, I would go with 3.5 too. It was even though that had some great things in it. There were disappointing overall moments that I didn't. It didn't reach what it should have reached for me.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's Okay.
I mean, the proud Mary burned, but maybe not quite as brightly as we would have hoped.
Well, it kept on turning though. It did. That it did.
Except when it didn't, and they had to stop the show.
Yeah, right. True. I went I'm back at the Public. It seems like I live at the Public. Bright Room Called Day is a play by Tony Kushner, a play that he wrote that was produced back in 1994.
So this is before Angels.
Yeah, before Angels. And he's bringing it back, and I had only heard about it, and I was so thrilled because I've always thought of it as a touchstone play, even though I never saw it. I did read it, but on the page, and you never know what you can. So anyway, it is a play set in Berlin just before the rise of the Nazis. It's the Weimar Republic, and it's a bunch of bohemians, artists, and sculptors.
But there's no cabaret.
No cabaret. Yes, exactly. And it has 2 extraordinary things that do happen, though. Of course, so you have a particularly innocent person played by Nikki James, who she is an idealist of the worst kind, because you believe everything, and then therefore things go bad. And in this, what he has done, he has come to revisit the play physically, literally, in the character.
Well, because there is a playwright character.
Yes.
And there is a character who he's created who's saying, why am I here? Can I go back in time and change this?
Well, the girl the person.
And what are you doing here?
The character who comes in to try to change things was in the original. But he didn't like the way, and I mean, the critics savaged this when it came out in 1994. It is a play about a bunch of artists doing nothing, essentially, as Hitler comes to power and being just total victims. And it was just not well received. And yet it was a play of ideas, and people are talking about deep, deep things. And it's Tony Kushner's signature kind of play. He does that. He gets in there for the most part and brings ideas to the fore, sometimes better, sometimes worse. And so in this particular case, and I didn't see that one, in this particular case, it's a very interesting group of actors. Linda Emond, whom we know. Grace Gummer, I think this is the best thing I've ever seen her do. She's playing a coked-up debutante who comes in and out. She's a dilettante in their world. And it's so fascinating to me because I've never really liked her on stage. I loved her in this. I thought, wow, they found something that fits her. She found a way into the character. So I thought she was great. The other person, Jonathan Hadary, plays the playwright / Tony Krishna character, talking about how the play went wrong and what could he do. And he becomes as immobilized as the rest of them.
Well, that's an interesting...
Which is, if you think about it, he just sits there and talks, which is what they're doing as, they're playing fiddling while Rome burns, basically. And you keep seeing the different dates come up on the screen. Yeah. And Hitler's election. We always have to remember that Hitler was elected.
Hitler was elected.
Right.
Democratically.
Yes. Well, democratic, yes, okay, with the help of the brown shirts, but democratically nonetheless. And there's something called Godwin's Law. There was a kid in college made up this law. His name is Godwin. Now he's a law professor or something. But anyway, Godwin's Law says you can only compare Nazis to something else once. In other words, that it's an overused trope to compare Nazis.
Yes.
Oh, they're as bad as Nazis.
Oh,
this is as bad as Nazis. It's overused. So this whole play now comes down to bringing it into the future with Jonathan Hadary sitting there. They are implicitly talking about the men in the White House as well. So it's interesting. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to...
Here we again.
And there we have
overuse.
I didn't use it. I was simply mentioning that the whole play does. Yes. Well, but he was doing it back in 1994.
Memo to playwrights.
He was doing it when. Oh, by the way, Mark Margolis is in this as the devil. The most exciting thing in this play. Is 94-year-old Estelle Parsons making an entrance through a window. I can barely walk down the stairs. She's coming through the friggin' window, and she's brilliant. She's a starving old woman who represents all of starving Berlin in the play. I mean, the metaphors in this play are like...
Yeah, it gets to be a bit much, but I did like, to me it came together very nicely at the end where he actually does let this character go back into the play and try and change things.
To no avail.
General memo to playwrights, yes, I know you don't like Donald Trump, but can you at least find a more original way to say it? It's getting very monotonous. Can we maybe just come out of a sign on the curtain, we don't like Donald Trump, and just write about something else?
We best get on. We have.
Well, how many playbills are you giving this?
Sorry. I liked it, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. 3.75.
All right, I'm going to go with three and a half on this. All right. So here is a more recent play. Now this, we've seen plays about towns that are just going under, losing their main support. And this is Greater Clements by Samuel D. Hunter, directed by David McCullum, Davis McCullum, and brings the lovely and talented Judith Ivey back to the stage. I'm thankful for that alone. And also brings a very interesting set that goes up and down. And this is designed by Dane Lafferty. Unfortunately, as it goes up, it's got all these pillars that obscure the view of the stage.
Thank you.
So while I was very impressed, I was saying, you know what? Impress me a little less next time and let me actually see the stage.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, very often a whole character was behind that.
What did impress me was this play. Now, this takes place in a town. It was a mining town. The mine has closed. Judith Ivey's character, whose grandfather was killed in a fire in the mine, has survived by opening a museum dedicated to the mine and giving tours of the actual mine. But for reasons that are never quite explained, the town has unincorporated itself. So she cannot go into the mine anymore. In fact, they can't use the traffic lights anymore. The lights go out. Exactly. I kind of wish that the playwright had explained why the town had voted to unincorporate itself. I think
they implied there was a mistake on the ballot or something. But I could be wrong about that. I don't remember.
And she is, deciding what her next move in life is going to be. Plus, she has to deal with her adult son, who has psychological problems, which at worst can be he cannot make out people's faces. And
It's at worst, but it's not just that he sees dog faces.
or he sees nothing, or just a light or
a
something.
blur, but mostly he says it's
calls it
dog
duck face.
faces.
Duck face.
I thought it said dog.
duck.
Oh, I'd have to see the script. Okay.
Faces, and he's back, and she has to deal with him. Basically, he had to leave town, and then a few years later, she just decided to go and pull him back in, and they are surviving together. And things heat up slightly when her old boyfriend shows up with his granddaughter, and that.
And her old boyfriend happens to be Asian
Right.
and happened to have
As
been
is the
interred.
granddaughter.
And this takes place in Idaho, by the way. And the playwright is from Idaho and always writes about Idaho. And there was an internment camp, and this fella's family, he's too young, I think, but his family
Right.
was interned there, which is something that nobody talks about. And her father didn't want her to be with him because he was Japanese. So there was a whole racial thing going on.
But now they have a second chance, and it's basically a very long play, and at times can be a little too long. But you have some beautiful performances. You have a wonderful story. Ivy makes such a triumphant return to Broadway. She dominates the stage. It's a little ensemble-ish at times, but she is the focal point of which everything revolves. And then her son, Edwin Donovan,
amazing.
a wonderful performance. And there's this one great scene which we don't quite see coming. He is with the boyfriend's granddaughter, and they're at the bottom of the mine. And you are wondering what's going to happen. And I won't give it away, but all I'll say is it is something beautiful.
Yes.
That does.
It's interesting that there are some...
And that kind of made the evening for me.
But I wouldn't disagree with you, but there are some interest. I mean, there are real moments in this, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
People really trying to connect. And something, it's a story I've never seen before. The particulars of it are, I mean, it's a familial story. We all know those. But the things around it that hold it together and that make the problems are so different and original.
Yes, yes. It's not just, oh, this is closing. All right, we don't have much time, so Ken Narasaki is the boyfriend, Haley Sakamoto is the granddaughter, Andrew Garman is the sheriff. He has a very nice scene. Nina Hellman is the friend, and Kate McCullough, I think it is a woman who comes at the last. She's bought a summer house there. She wants to see the mine. She grew up with it. And she's missing it too now that it's closed, but for different reasons.
Okay.
I'll give this 4 playbills.
I would give that 4 playbills. Yeah, a very interesting writer. He wrote The Whale, which is a touchstone play, and won a lot of awards.
Right.
Okay.
And that is our show for this evening. When you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
On the Aisle.